Hey everybody, I'm Ken Newhouse, and welcome to the world's biggest client acquisition show, the Get Clients Now podcast, where I interview the world's leading experts and extract from them the strategies, systems, tools, and tactics that are delivering real-world results for small business owners and entrepreneurs around the globe. Everybody, this is Ken Newhouse, and welcome to the initial episode of the Get Clients Now podcast. I will be the primary host of this show, and from time to time, I will have a variety of guests, business owners, authors, top-selling authors, celebrity entrepreneurs, and of course, hopefully more often than not, I will have my lovely and talented wife, Lisa Newhouse, as a co-host on the show. How you doing, Lisa? Authors, celebrity entrepreneurs, and of course, hopefully more often than not, I will have my lovely and talented wife, Lisa Newhouse, as a co-host on the show. How you doing, Lisa? All set and ready to go?
Doing great. Have my coffee. I'm all jazzed up.
Before we begin, I want to cover just a few bits of house cleaning. You know, for the last 6 to 8 months, I've really been contemplating the framework for this particular podcast. And as a result, I had to determine what I really wanted to bring to you guys that would be very helpful and very productive. And so as a result of that, I wanted to bring up a show for you that I would really find benefit in myself if I was coming from the other end as a listener, something of great value, something I could definitely listen to. And then from that, take what I've listened to and learned from the show and actually apply it quickly and monetize it in my business. And so what I want you to understand is that this is going to be a challenge for myself. It's also going to be a challenge for Lisa. You know, both of us really want to take everything we know about marketing, I guess, kind of just lay it out there for you, give you everything that I know that's really, really going to be helpful. I will not only give you stuff from the trenches that it's being used successfully today, but I will also reveal some of my biggest failures, and there have been many, I guess, over the years, certainly in the hopes that you will learn from my mistakes.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I think this is a great opportunity for us to flesh out everything that we know about how to find and then attract and then convert prospects into paying clients. And I don't know about you, Ken, but I'm ready to reveal, the tactics and the strategies that we talk about in private.
Many of the strategies that, Lisa and I have talked about with some of our top clients, and actually with strategies that I've talked with some of my own coaches. So as an example, Dan Kennedy's been a coach of mine for a long time, Frank Kern. The list is very long. Some of the top copywriters that have ever lived. John Carlton has been a personal coach of mine as well as a friend. Frank Kern is a friend. In addition to that, a really smart guy, but nevertheless, spent countless hours with these folks. And in addition, I've actually spent probably thousands of hours with business owners helping them discover what really is the most powerful marketing opportunity and strategy and systems that they can employ in their business. So what we're going to talk about on this show specifically, we're going to talk about the framework of direct response marketing, and there's so many facets of that, so many different pieces to the direct response marketing pie. We're also going to talk about copywriting. So if you can write compelling copy, you're going to sell a whole lot of stuff, right? We're going to talk about sales. If you own a business and you are fearful of selling, or you want to avoid selling, or you want to run from selling, I have news for you. You're in serious trouble. So you have to be able to know how to sell your products and services. We're teaching you ethical ways that you can sell what you have, the value that you're offering and bringing to your marketplace. That's the sales methodology that I want to teach you. We're going to also teach you a lot about humans. Amazing, to a great extent, albeit indirectly, is Dr. Robert Cialdini. He is the leading authority on human behavior and persuasion in the world. He's former Regent Emeritus Professor at Arizona State University. He's the author of, I would call these like human persuasion Bibles, if you will. He wrote the book Influence, and the 5th edition, I think, is the most current edition of that. He also most recently wrote just an amazing book. It is an amazing book. It's called Persuasion, and I suggest that you get both of these and don't just read them. You actually study these things that I give you. I don't recommend things lightly. whether it's a book or a resource or a particular guest that may be on the show. If they're on the show or if I'm recommending it, I promise you it is a great investment of your time. I don't have any affiliate agreements or contracts or relationships with people, so I don't get paid for anything that I recommend to you ever. And that's the way it's always going to be on this particular show. So we're going to talk about how to get really good quality clients, actually. We're going to talk a lot of really cool stuff. We'll talk a lot of internet marketing as we move through this stuff. Now, how do I know all this stuff? Well, this is stuff that I've learned over the years. I'm a student of this game. So everything I'm teaching you, I had to learn it at some point. And I was fortunate enough to have people that would not only mentor me, but people that I had to actually pay to coach me, which is Lisa and I are both students of the marketing game. We're both participants. And so one particular request that I'm going to have for you, if you really want to get a lot out of this program, if you want to get the most out of this show, just 2 requests that I have for you. Be coachable and be open-minded. What does that mean? That means that from time to time, I may cover a strategy with you, a technique, a system, a methodology that really doesn't make a lot of sense to you. You know, the only important thing that really matters is that it's able to deliver new clients or customers or patients, as it were, for your business. And everything, like I said, that we're going to cover is actually taken from the trenches. This is real stuff. This is not theory taken from a textbook. These are not methodologies taken from someone who's never actually applied, the professor or someone who's famous for writing a book. This is the real stuff used by real business owners, specifically myself, my clients, and other very, very successful business owners and entrepreneurs. So I have literally generated millions and millions and millions of dollars for myself and multiples of that for my customers and clients, and actually using a lot of this stuff that I'm going to actually cover with you on this show. So Lisa, if you're ready, I think it's time we get started. What do you think?
Sure, yeah. I think it's time we get started. And, most of our listeners are probably super well versed when it comes to applying direct response marketing techniques. But what I think we're going to do in the first couple of shows is I think it'll be beneficial if we build a solid foundation for those of you who may not be at the top of your marketing game. So over the next couple of shows, what we're going to cover is what I like to call Newhouseology 101. It's basically all the direct response marketing basics that you're going to need to get started. And, one of my favorite quotes is by Picasso. He said, know the rules so you can break them like an artist. So if you're an inexperienced marketer, this is going to be a great way for you to get things rolling fast. And if you're an experienced marketer, like I know many of you are, this information will likely be a great refresher course for you so that you can get refocused on the framework of basically what helped you get to where you are today.
Now, if you're an inexperienced marketer, this is going to be a great experience for you, and it's going to be a great platform for you to get things rolling very, very quickly in your business. So what I'd like to do is go back to my first experience with marketing, and it was way back in 1992 when I graduated from chiropractic college. So my first experience in business, first went into practice, the first real marketer, quote unquote, real marketer that I had experience with was Jay Abraham. And I met Jay Abraham at a seminar. I don't remember the seminar that I went to, but one of the things that he told me that was actually, it was kind of harsh. Back when I was younger, I was polished, very articulate. At that time, I didn't know anything about marketing whatsoever, which you're about to see in just a few seconds. That's a really, really bad position to be in. But he really cut me down to size when he said, hey, listen, Ken, and I'm going to read his quote. Don't be in too big of a hurry to promote yourself until you're good at what you do. Otherwise, you're just going to speed up the rate at which the world finds out that you're no good. Now, like I said, I thought I was a pretty good chiropractor, but coming right out of school, how much can you know, really? It was good advice. It was great advice. And over the last 25 years, I am telling you, it's been my observation time and time and time again. I see business owners, entrepreneurs, sales professionals, even healthcare professionals. And specifically, when I say healthcare professionals, in my world, I'm talking specifically about dentists, cosmetic surgeons, chiropractic physicians, and a variety of different medical practitioners. I've seen all these people across the board. They're all guilty of rushing to promote themselves and promote their businesses. And they never stop long enough to consider if they have something that's really worth promoting. And I'll touch more on that later. I'm not saying that dentistry isn't valid or necessary or good, or chiropractic, or even your business. My point is, they're rushing headlong into trying to create an ad or create a marketing campaign without really understanding the process of how to do it and do it right in a way that's going to bring value to the marketplace and bring new clients or customers or patients into their business, right? Now, before we continue, I just want to let you know that I've got some bad news for you today, and I've got some really, really good news for you. So those of you who know me and have actually been through either one of my live trainings or actually on a live webinar, you guys realize that I really like to start my trainings and I like to finish my trainings on a real strong positive note. So when it comes to giving you the bad news, I'm actually going to be super awesome husband, and I'm going to let my wife, Lisa, my co-host, go ahead and deliver the bad news to you first.
Yeah, sure. The world, the bad news is the world is super competitive today for business owners and entrepreneurs and professionals. I mean, it's much more competitive than it was 25 years ago. The internet has really changed the game, and you're not just competing against local businesses anymore, but you're often competing against businesses all over the United States. And depending on what business you're in, you might actually be competing with businesses all over the world. So, truth be told, if you want to build and maintain a successful and thriving and profitable business, you're going to have to master all the skills that Ken was, enumerating earlier, like marketing, sales, communication, and even persuasion techniques, because these are really the skills that will predictably and consistently produce new clients and customers for your business. And so this is actually, the premiere episode of our Get Clients Now podcast. And while we're not going to begin with any particular media or strategy, what we are going to do is we're going to launch our show by teaching you how to create a hyper promotable message, the best one possible. And it's not going to use any hype or anything untruthful. It's going to truthfully represent the awesome stuff, the services or products that your business brings to the marketplace.
And once you've done that, you'll need to develop a USP that somehow trumps those of your competitors. And as a result, it's literally going to place you in a category of one. Now, what does that mean, a category of one? Well, let me just put it to you this way. If you don't have a powerful and compelling USP, you are literally, imagine yourself a leaf on a tree in a forest of green leaves. You're just another leaf. You're just another choice. But if you want to stand out, if you're a leaf on a tree and you want to stand out, what color in the middle of summer do you not want to be? Obviously, you don't want to be green. And so as a result, let's say that you're now a bright, brilliant, metallic purple, right? You're going to stand out. So
really
scripted, well thought out, laser focused USP is going to make you the purple leaf on a tree. That's going to put you in a category of one. And it has a lot to do with positioning.
And in order to do that effectively, you've got to understand all that you're up against. In fact, you really need to start gathering information on all of your competitors. You need to know as much about them as possible.
Every one of your competitors, at least the ones that matters, are targeting the very same prospects that you are. And in today's, we're in a very hyper-competitive market. You've got to possess the secrets and the strategies. And yes, there are secrets, okay? If they weren't secrets, everybody would know them. Everyone would use them, right? This stuff is literally almost like top secret because virtually none of your competition is investing the time, money, or effort to find these things out. And if they did, that'd be bad news for you. But the fact is they're not, which is good news for you. You're here now, and we're going to start getting a lot of this stuff, actually all of it, I'm giving you for free. Hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn what I'm teaching you on this show for free. Probably in excess, at least $150,000 I've spent over the last 20 years or so, actually over the last 15 probably. Remember this, every one of your competitors, right? They're targeting the same prospects that you are, the same market that you are. And so as a result, if you want to actually be able to sell and profitable business, you've got to learn these things and master them. Here's the good news that I promised you a little bit earlier. Despite the fact that there is more competition, it's literally overwhelming, more competition than we've had at any time in history. I want you to understand you should be very, very optimistic. Actually, you should be very excited by the fact that no matter what industry you're in, no matter what niche, no matter what marketplace you're serving, every one of your competitors, and when I say everyone, 99.9% of them, maybe 100% in your case, I don't know, right? They're all saying the same thing in their marketing and their advertising, their communications. And with rare exception, broad statements, broad messages, right? They're big and broad and they don't really target anyone in particular, which, like I said, that's awesome news for you, right? Now, just a real quick thought on that. If you're using this kind of marketing or advertising, I want you to stop now. Literally, stop. Why? Because you're wasting time, effort, and money. It simply is the absolute worst way to market and promote your business. Lisa, do you have any thoughts on that you'd like to add?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'd like to add a few things. I mean, while everybody in your industry is doing things a certain way, you might be looking at your competition, at their marketing and their advertising, and you might think to yourself, wow, this seems like the way you're supposed to do things. I mean, everyone else is doing it that way, right? But I can tell you without reservation that that's definitely wrong. It's the wrong approach, and, especially if you want to be successful and highly profitable. In fact, all of this Me Tooism, the key to getting clients now and having a highly profitable business lies in, especially if you want to be successful and highly profitable. In fact, all of this Me Tooism, the key to getting clients now and having a highly profitable business lies in your ability to stand out from the crowd, specifically in your ability to create a marketing message that will differentiate you from your competition. You want to differentiate yourself in a positive and an appealing and a compelling way. Ken, why don't you go into more detail here?
Actually, Lisa, I would. And what you're talking about is what most marketing professionals, we refer to as the unique selling proposition, or the USP. And without this, as I mentioned earlier, you're merely a choice. And when you have a powerful, clearly written, well-defined, laser-focused USP, you're going to become the obvious choice in your marketplace, right? Now, the interesting fact about what I just said is that in spite of all this, more than 90% of all small businesses do not have a USP that highlights distinguishing characteristics about their product or their service or their business. Here's an example. Walk through any supermarket, walk through any department store, any small business, and most of the products that you're going to see are fundamentally the same as others, like their niche, right? And when new business ideas are suggested to me, they're mostly, I would say, copycat ideas. In the past few months alone, as an example, I've heard the following. I've had an investment advisory newsletter on exchange-traded funds, a website that provided natural remedies for health problems, a chain of retail stores selling imported accessories for women. These are all people coming to me with so-called really awesome, hot new ideas, right? A website containing inspirational and motivational messages, a seminar business that teaches people to be public speakers. None of these ideas were unique in any way, shape, or form. And unbelievably, that didn't faze the people who were promoting them. And some of those people were reasonably experienced entrepreneurs. I'm actually scratching my head as I sit here and talk. When I asked them how they could, literally distinguish their businesses from the competition, how would prospects from the competition, they looked at me as though I was speaking a foreign language. Seriously. Listen, if you want the best chance of selling your products and services, you got to have two things. Number one, you got to either make it better than your competitors, and number two, in some way, you got to make it seem better, right?
Sure, yeah. I'll list a few key points about the USP, and then, I'll give you the framework for creating an effective USP for your business. So number one, a USP is also a way of summarizing one of the chief benefits of your business, your product, or your service that you want to market. So as an example, maybe everybody's seen this commercial, I think, the one where the grandma says, cook without butter, without grease, without oil, with red copper. And then point number two, your USP may express the theme of your business, product, or service. So as an example, this podcast is titled Get Clients Now, which obviously, it's a pretty explicit when it tells you exactly what you're going to get out of listening to this podcast. You're going to learn the tactics and the methods for how to attract new clients and how to do it quickly, right? So that you can grow your business. So you don't have to guess what our USP is. You know what it is just through the title.
So what exactly is a USP? What exactly is a unique selling proposition? Anyway, well, it's a way of explaining your position against your competition and against all the other choices in the marketplace your prospects have, whether those are real or imagined choices, right? Now, I want to actually follow up that thought by continuing with Newhouseology's 3 laws for marketing success. Newhouseology 101 states that there are 3 laws that are absolutely essential to you being able to market your small business successfully and make a profit. So marketing law number 1, that deals with your message. Without the right message, you're in serious trouble. And most, from what I've seen, I'm actually going to come back and touch on these in greater detail as we go, but just for now, I'm going to touch on them lightly, these 3 marketing laws. Marketing law number 2, the second marketing law, according to Newhouseology, is to make sure that you're actually marketing to the right prospects. How much time and money do you waste sending or putting your messages in front of people who are not qualified to be your prospects, to be your customers or clients or your patients? Imagine this. Would it make sense, let's say that your business was hair restoration and you had niched your business to target specifically men who were, had lost all of their hair. Now imagine if your marketing messages, let's say you paid me. You paid a really talented copywriter to create your marketing messages, and I created a really great ad set for you, ad series, whatever. We ran it offline and online. But then you decided to send these ads, all right, these marketing messages to women who had a problem with too much body hair that they were trying to lose, or just women in general. Now your message is not just to maybe some women in the group that have, husbands or boyfriends or whatever, or, fathers or brothers, whatever, that need to regrow their hair. And as a result, that you might get some business from that. But my point is, why in the world would you send those ads, those marketing messages to a group of women when in fact your target group is men? Now I know that's a little bit of an exaggeration, a little stretch for this. It's for the sake of my example. You must, it's critically important, pay particular and close attention to where your marketing messages are being displayed. Who's reading them, right? Okay, marketing law number 3 is media. The third component of Newhouseology's 3 marketing laws of success is the media, right? So law number 1 is that you need to have the right message. And law number 2, obviously, got to be delivered to the right market. Law number 3, you got to use the right media. Again, we'll go back to my example with the guys who want to regrow their hair. What if these people only read the newspaper or only read a trade publication? Let's say they don't have internet. Again, an extreme example, right? Why in the world win on the internet if in fact, and believe me, I am an advocate for the internet. Not the internet alone, but I'm a big advocate for using the internet. It's a very powerful media, but it's a media, nothing other than a media, right? And there's lots of niche media within the internet, so to speak. So my point is you've got to use all 3 of these together when using and creating your USP. You have to create a powerful USP, and then you have to implement these 3 marketing laws in addition to that. So as I mentioned earlier, we're starting with the basics. We're going to move into more advanced stuff as we go ahead. So what I'd like to do now is I want Lisa to go ahead and cover some of the basic requirements that you guys are going to need to follow if you want to create a compelling marketing message, a real powerful and magnetic USP. It's just going to resonate super, super well with your prospects and your customers even, right?
Sure, yeah. I'm sure you guys have caught on by now, but if you haven't, USP stands for unique selling proposition, right? And caught on by now, but if you haven't, USP stands for unique selling proposition, right? And every great marketing message has one. So Ken actually developed an easy to follow method for creating your USP. But if you want to dramatically increase your ability to get quality new clients on demand, and that's a big if that's what you want for your business, then you really need to use this method because it's going to make it really easy. But why does a compelling USP play such a vital role in getting quality new clients? You might be asking yourself. Well, businesses that have a clear and compelling USP are able to deliver they're able to answer an unspoken question. Now, this unspoken question everyone has. I mean, every prospect asks themselves this question prior to doing business with you. And so you really need to have it answered in your USP.
About 15 years ago, I came up with a framework for creating a powerful, unique selling proposition. In fact, framework, you're going to actually need to put yourself into your prospect's shoes. And I mean that in a psychological, kind of a human behavior type of way. And I want you to do this before you start really to work on the framework of creating your USP. Now, I've crafted a question, right? And I want you to ask this question. I'm about to give you the question, but I want you to ask yourself this question as though you're a prospect, right? So this will be a question. In fact, this is a question that your prospects, every time, all of them, 100%, even if they're a direct referral from your best customer, right? They're going to ask themselves this question about doing business with you. They don't ask you the question, they ask it to themselves, but it's a question literally that's kind of directed at you, but they don't verbalize it to you. Usually, almost never, right? Here's the question. Why should I choose to do business with you versus any and every other option available to me in your category? Stop and think about that. Your USP must answer this question in a way, it's a benefit-laden answer that addresses your prospect. It can't be things like because we're trustworthy, because we've been in business for 20 years, because we're family owned, because we're local. Let's keep them, one of the dumbest commercials that I've ever heard comes from a locally owned funeral home, and their big USP is, hey, use our funeral service, our company to bury your loved ones, because let's keep St. Louis money local. People don't care about you. They don't care in the sense someone just died, right? Someone very close to them just died, and you're trying to promote your business based on keeping money local. That is not a benefit to someone who's just lost a loved one. So really, I want you to think about this, which is a difficult task. One of the most difficult things we can do is to sit and actually think, right? Think in a way that is going to actually help us solve our problem. Why don't people think? Because we're lazy. That's just the fact of the situation. People are lazy, right? Think in a way that is going to actually help us solve our problem. Why don't people think? Because we're lazy. That's just the fact of the situation. People are lazy. That's one of the things about human nature you're going to learn. People are lazy. Right? To be an effective marketer, you have to employ strategies that will help lazy people. And lazy people could be making, $500,000 a year. Doesn't matter, right? That's human nature. So, like I said, I invented this question to help you better understand how to create a powerful USP. This question is really sort of a mental crowbar, if you will, to help you pry ideas out of your head, to dig around and really help you, I don't know, for lack of a better term, just kind of root out some ideas you might have in your head. So, now, if you can't answer this question in a meaningful way that is a benefit-laden response to your prospects, you got some serious problems, right? Number one, you're not going to be able to create a USP that's actually going to work, right? That's going to be magnetic and compelling to your prospects. But number two, not being able to answer this question in a really meaningful, compelling way. Simply that, number one, you're getting your clients in all likelihood because either you're the cheapest price person in your industry or in your market, right? Maybe you've got a really super convenient location. Using a convenient location as your marketing and positioning strong point is a really bad idea because someone's going to come in and move you out of that place, right? Maybe you're a charismatic, maybe like you're well polished. Maybe you're the only provider of, like I said, in a given area, right? If you use any of those things as your strong point, as your marketing strong point, you're vulnerable, right? And so as a result of that, real simple, you need a USP. You need a powerful and compelling USP. Now, don't rush into creating this, but it's critically important. I'm telling you, by doing this, by creating this and then starting to use it in all of your marketing messages, your ads, your campaigns, and everything else, you're going to notice a dramatic and pretty rapid response to your business in a very positive manner, right? So, Lisa, what are your thoughts on that? Anything you'd like to add? Do you agree? Do you disagree? What do you think? Think I'm right?
Yeah, I think you're right, Ken. And to the question Ken just asked you to ask yourself, it can't be something you can't answer it by saying something general like we offer quality or we have a friendly staff or our waiting room is super nice or our products or services are better. I mean, these are all super general marketing generalities, I guess you could call them, and they really fall on deaf ears because your prospects and your clients they won't even hear that. It's just noise. It's fluff. You really need to have something more specific than that. And the model that we give you has, it's basically successfully built multi-million-dollar businesses in every market that you can think of, no matter how small or how big. And so, for example, if I was to say to you, fresh hot pizza delivered in 30 minutes or less, guaranteed, would you be able to tell me who that USP belongs to? Of course you would. Yeah, everybody knows that one is Domino's. And so that's, an example of how a single USP can build your business, right? Or taglines. I mean, they're really benefit oriented. They're not necessarily slogans. They can be used as slogans, but really what I want you to notice is that they convey strong benefits.
That's a great point, Lisa. You can have a specific answer to this question. Remember, it's got to be benefit oriented to your ideal client, right? We're going to talk about one of our upcoming shows. Actually, one of our upcoming shows is going to be with Debbie Ward of Silver Tablet Marketing. We're going to actually talk about how to actually create powerful and compelling marketing messages using the voice of your prospects. A lot of business owners actually make the mistake of creating an avatar, a client persona based on what they believe to be their ideal prospect. Well, these people might not be real, right? So by actually, and there's a strategy to this, and actually there's a secret on how to get the voice. You can let your customers literally write your marketing messages in order to create powerful and compelling messages. That's on an upcoming show with Debbie Ward. She's the CEO and founder of Silver Tablet Marketing. The voice, you can let your customers literally write your marketing messages in order to create powerful and compelling messages. That's on an upcoming show with Debbie Ward. She's the CEO and founder of Silver Tablet Marketing. That'll be coming up here in the next couple of shows. So be looking for that. So As I mentioned before, hey, listen, if you want to look at really bad examples of USPs, open the yellow pages and look under attorneys. You're going to see nonsense. It's garbage. These people are wasting money, and I guess they have money to waste. 2-page ads that talk about, that they have integrity. That's a joke in and of itself, a lawyer with integrity. But my point is this, saying that, we're a family business, or our customers come first, our clients come first, we've been in business X number of years, really, who cares? Who cares? What are the benefits to your client? That's what your marketing should speak about. So like I said, you want to see really bad, horrific examples of wasted money on marketing? Open the yellow pages, look under attorneys, right? All right, we're going to go ahead and take a short break. And actually, when we come back, we're going to really take a deep dive. See really bad, horrific examples of wasted money on marketing? Open the yellow pages, look under attorneys, right? All right, we're going to go ahead and take a short break. And actually, when we come back, we're going to really take a deep dive into the 3 laws of marketing success, and then we're going to actually teach you how to create a very powerful and compelling, laser-focused USP that is so magnetic to your ideal prospects, to your market, to your customers, that it's literally going to transform your business unbelievably fast. So when we come back from the break, that's what we're going to do. We'll see you in just a few seconds. Talk soon. Okay, guys, welcome back. That was a short break we had to take. I'm going to get a little water, a little coffee, check the technical aspects of everything. And I actually want to pick up where we left off by talking out how to develop, really powerful and compelling USP for your business. And as I mentioned before, we're going to use the dominoes example that we talked about earlier. So Lisa, if you want to go ahead and start with that framework, we can roll this out for everybody.
Sure. Yeah. Before we get started, I just wanted to point out to our listeners that they can download the 3 marketing laws of Newhouseology and other information we're about to cover in the show notes for this episode if they want to.
Sure. Sounds good. Okay. And actually, Lisa, I'm glad that you mentioned that. So, guys, in an effort to make, this, I want to make this process as easy as possible for you to create, a really powerful and compelling USP for your business. We're gonna break the process down into little micro steps if that seems to make sense. So step one is going to be to narrow down your using. Never said that they had the best pizza or that they had the secret sauce, from grandma from the old country. They didn't say that. What they said is that their pizza is going to be fresh and it's going to be hot. So they narrowly defined their positioning of their product using fresh and hot, and you're going to get it quick, right? So it's super, super important. It's really important to remember that your USP, if you try to appeal to everyone, like this broad market I talked about, most of your competition is trying to do, and it's like a broad thing. They want to, reminds me, one of my very first clients that I had there was a chiropractor. I said, okay, before I can help you craft your marketing messages, tell me, I have to know describe your ideal new patient to me. And she said, oh, anybody with money. Well, that's why she hired me, because she, really smart doctor, really good at what she did. She didn't know how to market, right? You can't appeal to anybody with money. It has to be, your marketing message has to literally be so personalized and so specific toward your prospect. You're personalized and so specific toward your prospect that when they read it, they feel like you're writing, this is a personal message to them. So the more narrowly you can actually define your positioning, and certainly within reason, the stronger your appeal is going to be towards your prospect. Your message is going to be much more compelling, right? Okay, so Lisa, go ahead and hit step 2.
Sure, yeah. Step number 2 is that you need to use meaningful and specific information. I mean, fresh, hot pizza delivered in 30 minutes or less is not delivered sometime, right? It's delivered within a specific time frame. So when you're creating your USP, you need to create it in such a way that it has meaningful and specific information, and that meaning needs to convey a benefit to your ideal clients and customers, right?
Absolutely.
All right, and then step number 3 of this process is your guarantee. I mean, basically, Domino's uses the fresh hot pizza delivered in 30 minutes or less guaranteed, and so this is a great structure for you to kind of use as your framework when you're trying to create your USP. And so the 30-minute guarantee, what it basically does is it strengthens the message.
Actually, that's making me hungry talking about Domino's, even though I hate Domino's. But anyway, let me make a quick. I want to interject a quick point here. First and foremost, I'm not suggesting, and Lisa's not suggesting, that you guarantee your product or service based on like a 30-minute time limit. Okay. And also, Domino's doesn't use the 30-minute time limit. They quit using that some years ago. But you have to understand that's what built their business. They were just a local pizza place on a college campus with two brothers. Um, who split everything up as far as the time. One would study at one time while the other one worked, and so on and so forth. And when they created their USP, fresh hot pizza in 30 minutes or less guaranteed, that exploded their business. That's what made Domino's Domino's. And then over time, they've morphed it and changed it and things like that. And so, um, in your business, is there anything about your offer that you can guarantee, like you can guarantee the outcome is, or what the outcome will be for your prospects once they use your service or buy your product? And if you can, you absolutely have to include that guarantee. You have to verbalize that in your USP. It's critically important. So Lisa, go ahead and if you would hit those 3 bullet points, recap those, and then we'll get into the framework, because I know we're gonna be running short on time here before too long.
All right, sure. Yeah, I mean, just to recap really quickly, to create a powerful and compelling USP for your business, you have to include these 3 steps. Number one, you need to narrowly define how you position your product or service. Number two, you must use meaningful and specific information that conveys a tangible benefit to the customer. And number three, you should absolutely find a way to guarantee your products and services in a way that's unique and appealing to your prospects. Unique and appealing to your prospects.
Sounds awesome. Okay, so now that we've actually covered those things, let's dive in a little bit deeper into we just covered marketing law number one. Let's talk about now, instead of your message, now let's talk about your market, your target market. So I'm sure most of you guys know this, but studies today demonstrate that we're all bombarded by anywhere from 7 to 8,000 commercial messages every single day, whether it's online on your smartphone, whether it's on a billboard while you're driving, whether it's in the mall when you're walking around. And actually, I haven't been to the mall for a long time, so nevertheless, pretty much radio, satellite radio, wherever you are, there are commercials everywhere. Magazines you read, it's constant. And here's the point I want to make in that. If you want to actually get your USP to cut through all that noise, right? Those are distractions that your prospects have to deal with every day, just like you do. Right? Those are distractions that your prospects have to deal with every day, just like you do. If you want your message to be received, you've got to cut through all that like a hot knife through butter. And there's 2 things that you have to do in order to do that. Number one, you've got to get your message delivered directly to your market, to your prospects. And number two, your message has to have direct appeal. It has to be magnetic. It has to be compelling. It has to be benefit laden and speak directly to those people in your market. So you've got to be able to target the right people in order to accomplish that. So even if you have the greatest marketing message in the world, as I mentioned earlier, if you sent it to the wrong crowd, let's say you had a product for men who wanted to grow hair, right? You had a great message, you had a great product even, and then you sent all of your messages and all of your marketing went to women who had too much hair on their legs. They had like Sasquatch hair, like on their legs, and they wanted to remove it. So you're not going to have really any success to speak of trying to sell a hair restoration product for a man to women who have super hairy legs. So I know that's a little bit of a stretch, but you get my point. So Lisa, go ahead and give some more bad news if you would.
Well, actually, yeah. This time I get to give the good news and the bad news. Well, the good news and the bad news together, I guess you could say, is that privacy is now dead, and that's the bad news. But the good news for marketers is that privacy is dead, right? Because basically it means that you can easily, obtain the names, the addresses, and the email addresses for just about any type of target market that you're looking for. Wouldn't you agree?
100%. So as an example, if you want to target, speaking of hair, let's say that we wanted to target let's say we had a promotion we wanted to run and we wanted to target our target prospects, our ideal prospects. Let's say they were men and they were like 4 feet 10 inches tall, and they all drove either orange or maybe like a yellow Cadillac, which is Lisa's favorite color, orange or yellow Cadillacs, forehead and formed a unibrow. They live in Montana and they all subscribe to UFO magazine. Now, as weird as that sounds, I guarantee you can buy a list like that. I know that it's an extreme. That's an extreme to prove a point. Nevertheless, if you can describe your target market, your ideal, like create an avatar describing who these people are, you can buy a list for that online. It's because privacy is dead. Um, on Facebook, your ability to target people specifically based on all manner of demographics, geographics, and psychographic data it's just, and it gets better every day. It's just mind-boggling, and it's really cool. So anyway, let's go ahead and just focus on the target market. And here's a couple questions. How do you know? How do you know what to focus in on in your target market? Like, what is your focus? What is it? What should it be on? If I could spit my words out today. And then how do you determine who your target market is?
Local.
What should it be on? If I could spit my words out today. And then how do you determine who your target market is? Those are good questions. And so I'm going to go ahead and let Lisa answer those while I take a drink of coffee.
Sure, yeah. I guess the basic way that most business owners and entrepreneurs and sales professionals choose their target market is by using geographic data. If you have a local business, you may say that your customers and your patients or your clients or whoever, that they come from a 10-mile radius around your business, right? Some people really don't get any more sophisticated in their targeting than that. And, that's fine if you're a restaurant and you rely on local business exclusively, right in your area. But let's say you're an online business selling supplements or clothing or whatever. I mean, then you need to get more sophisticated with your targeting, right? Targeting with only geographic information is like getting in a plane and dropping a bunch of flyers and hoping that a few fall right into the hands of the right people that you're targeting. Well, okay, maybe that's an exaggeration, but the fact of the matter is, by making a few simple tweaks, you can make your geographic target marketing much more effective. So what you're going to do is you're going to layer in some demographic information, right? And this helps narrow the field. So you're going to use demographics like how old the people are that you want to target. Maybe you're going to target them based on how much money they make each year, or maybe you're going to target them on whether they're married or single, or whether they have kids, or whether they rent or own a home, or maybe you want to target liberals or conservatives, or you might want to target people based on what religion they are, and so forth. So basically, you're going to be further defining who your ideal customer is with these demographics. But again, this is still kind of surface level stuff. It's important that we go even deeper than just geographic and demographic targeting.
If had I not experienced this myself, I would have a hard time believing that people would be, as an example, like Valpak, to send people Valpak, and Valpak can be profitable, but just the whole general idea of just mailing to every household when in fact the same marketing message, when in fact most of the people you're mailing to aren't going to be profitable. And I guess the other side of that argument could be, well, it's so inexpensive to send a Valpak, and we do get a couple clients or customers out of it, or patients, that it makes it worth our time. But the thing for me is that that's just an utter waste of time when you can actually take the same amount of time invested in better list selection. So anyway, let me give you an example of a person who didn't go any deeper than that. It was probably, I don't know, 13, 14 years ago. I had a chiropractor who actually, he actually bought one of my systems, attended all of my seminars. So the system that he bought was my original magnetic marketing system, and that was $29.97. He attended my seminars, which were $49.97, several of those. And then he actually hired me to come to his office and consult with him for 4 days. And then he actually hired me to come to his office and consult with him for 4 days. And back then it was $20,000. Now that's like a half day. But nevertheless, um, I get to his office, and in the process of working with him, he just stops the conversation. He's like, hey, Ken, I got to talk to you. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing with the system, and it's not working. So I said, okay, at the end of the day today, let's go for a drive. I want you to show me, you're sending out these marketing pieces, you're saying they're not working, so we'll go for a drive. And so this was in Michigan, up in Michigan. And so at the end of the day, he takes me out in his car, and we're driving around the neighborhoods while, so he could show me where all this stuff was going. And it turns out that he takes me to these neighborhoods that aren't all that far from his office. His office was in a pretty decent part of town. It's kind of a small town, but nevertheless, I'm seeing people, lots of them, in front of trailers sitting out in the, seeing people, lots of them in front of trailers sitting out in the front, and these old lawn chairs, the ones that have like the synthetic green thatch striped kind of fibers. And these guys are in torn sweatpants with holes and shorts and, the back hair and, half bald, but really overweight and beer cans laying all over the ground. Then you've got the little kids running around with 2 or 3 diaper changes ago needing to be changed. And then, they got the family car up on the cylinder blocks in the front yard. And then in addition to that, a lot of these trailers were actually, they were sinking down 2 or 3 feet on one end. And come to find out, these were the people he was targeting for his carpet cleaning, not carpet cleaning, I'll have to edit that out. These were the people that he was targeting for his chiropractic services. These people didn't want to spend money on chiropractic services. These people wanted to spend money on big screen televisions. In fact, that's why they're to you that on big screen televisions. In fact, that's why their trailer was like kind of sunk down on one end. And so the point is that he didn't use psychographic data. Well, what is psychographic data? And he also didn't make good use of just common sense. Obviously, just because people are in a certain zip code doesn't mean they're going to want what you have. Even if they live in an area where they're close enough to you, that let's say the geographic data is good, but the demographic data is not. These people didn't have the money, nor really did they have the desire. They didn't want to be healthy. They didn't take care of themselves. And then psychographic data really deals with the buying behaviors of your prospects. What interests them? What are they spending money on? I can tell you, I can create a list. Let's say I'm selling exercise equipment. I can create a list specifically only based on people who have made purchases of exercise equipment or supplements or anything that would really lead them to being more a qualified prospect for me. I can say, did they buy it on a credit card? Did they pay cash? I mean, whatever I want. And this, like a more important and relevant data set that's going to be necessary for you to be successful, because it really delves into what people are thinking and their behaviors. And behaviors really do say a lot. So nevertheless, he had a great message. I helped him craft the message, but he was sending it to the wrong people, right? Falling on deaf ears. So the question that I want you to ask yourself is, are you wasting your advertising efforts and your dollars? Are you sending out maybe great marketing, but to the wrong people? Do you have a really lame message going to the right people? This is where that whole process of forcing yourself to sit down and think about these things really comes into play. So let's assume just for a moment that you got the right message, you've got the right geographics and the right demographic and psychographic data sets, and you know who your ideal client is. What I'd like to do now is really segue into that third piece of the puzzle, and that's I want Lisa to talk about using the right media. What vehicle are you using to get your in front of your ideal prospects?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like these days everybody is so infatuated with the internet. And by the way, Ken's client attraction system works brilliantly online. But that being said, the internet is not just a business, it's a form of media, and it's really not the only media choice that you have available to you. Many business owners are so enthralled with this shiny object that they're really diluting their marketing effort and making it less effective than it could be, because they're really just doing stuff online. So online marketing is just one option, and another option is to use traditional print advertising, and this could mean direct mail, display ads in newspapers, local periodicals, or trade publications, and all of that stuff works. The question is, what type of media should you use? And the reality is you should use a combination of all the different types of media. I mean, whatever is bringing in new clients and is working well for you. Much of it depends on where your target market is, right? And so if your target market is 80-year-old men who drive orange Cadillacs and have a unibrow, and I'm not even sure about all the rest of it, but anyway, then they might not be on Facebook, right? Maybe that's not the best way to reach them. I mean, do they even allow them on Facebook? I don't know. Maybe they do. Who knows? I'm just kidding. But you need to basically seek out your target audience where they reside, and whatever media they like to use, that's where you need to get them, right? So you should never put all of your eggs in one basket, I guess is the bottom line. I mean, your marketing efforts should always use a combination of online and offline methods, so that you can bring in as many new customers as possible and be as effective as you possibly can be.
Absolutely. And so actually, that brings up one additional point I'd like to throw in here real quick. The worst number in business is one. Worst number in business is one of anything. So if you have one source of new clients, if you have one preferred media that you use to generate your new clients, if you have one one employee who can do only, she's the only or he's the only one that can do this one thing in the office. That, there's one critical step. That's why cross training is so important. So really, as it pertains to your marketing and your messaging and your media that you're using, um, and even the niches that you go after, your target prospect, your ideal target, you got to start with one. But the worst number to have is in business is one of anything, because if something happens where you lose that one, many years ago, broadcast fax. That's, actually, you may not know what a fax machine is. I'm sure a lot of you do. But the younger ones listening to this may not really know what a fax machine is. But we used to have a thing where you could actually send out like an email blast, but it was on a fax machine. Well, the law has changed, and many businesses, a lot of people actually that broadcast fax message, it's kind of like spam. You can't do that or you're going to get slapped, right? They're going to shut you down. But back then, with the broadcast fax, which is still a law today, you don't get shut down, you get a fine. And for every fax you send out without permission, if it's like a blasted fax, that's a $500 fine. And so several people who had built huge businesses using broadcast fax, they came crumbling down overnight. So the point is, the worst number in business is one of anything. Once you find something that works good, keep using it, but start looking for other things that you can migrate in with this. And so I want to add in another point. I like to add in points, as you noticed today. So one more really important point for the framework of creating a powerful USP and using it to get your clients. There are countless marketing strategies you can use and media you can use to magnetically attract, real high quality prospects, right? That you can actually then convert into clients. Real high quality prospects, right? That you can actually then convert into clients and customers, right? So you can take that USP, and once you've really crafted a good one, a powerful one that's going to be magnetic to your prospects, there's so many different ways you can use that, right? But I want you to think about something. All the leads that you generate and all the prospects you get with your new USP, right? All the different media you use, and you generate all these leads and prospects, they're all going to be completely worthless unless you have a system that will predictably convert them into sales for your business. Now, that's just a fact. So just think about this. What if this next month generated 500 super high quality, these are hot leads for your business, right? But then you don't have a method for moving them through your funnel, your marketing funnel, in a way that is going to convert them and transform them into sales, right? So if you get all these leads, there'd be no point in actually getting the leads if you don't have a way to convert them into sales. You get all these leads, there'd be no point in actually getting the leads if you don't have a way to convert them into sales. So when you don't have a system that's going to predictably turn your leads and your prospects into sales, that's money you can put in the bank, you're literally, what you're doing is like rolling the dice, and you're wasting a lot of money. I guarantee you are, right? So this is really, really important for you to understand. If you want to take your business and set it up so that you can make, real money, like the really big money, it's really important that you understand you're going to actually have to have a system that not only manages your marketing campaigns once you've created them, handles all of your promotions, it's going to generate leads, and then it's going to magnetically compel all of those leads to become not just hot prospects, but it's going to automatically transform them into sales, like actual money, right? You have to have that if you want to grow your business, and it's got to be an automated system, okay? Now, we're about out of time. Specific foundational strategies for getting clients, which is you've got to have a compelling and magnetic and powerful USP that is embedded in all of your marketing messages. It has to be there, right? You've also heard us discuss about how companies like Walmart specifically created a very clear and deliberate USP. And then we also talked about Domino's, how they literally very early on, their USP exploded their growth. It made them into the behemoth that they are today, right? So if you actually like what we've covered today, and if you'd like to learn more specifically about the systems that we're using in our businesses personally, the systems that are bringing in the most revenue for us, and also for our most successful clients, and you're going to love the new free training. Like I said, it's free. This is a free training we called How to Magnetically Attract Leads and Turn Them into Clients, Customers, and Patients Fast using advanced marketing and automation. Now, that's in patients fast using advanced marketing and automation. Now, that's a free service. Someone's walking their dog right next to our house. Someone should shoot that dog. I hate that dog. We have weird neighbors, by the way, just so you know. We have our studios in our house, and these folks, obviously, nevertheless. We've tested several different types of systems and multiple variations of each. And we found that there are literally only three that produce most of our new clients and account for about 90% of our revenue. So during the training, the free training that I just mentioned, I'm actually going to show you what those three are and how you can actually implement them in your business so you can hopefully get similar results. That's my intention. So we've actually included links to the free training in the show notes. I placed an additional link on this page outside the show notes so you can access the training and benefit from it immediately. Also want to quickly mention we got some really amazing guests coming up on the next several episodes. And I'm going to actually cover the things that they're doing, and you can swipe these and use several episodes. And I'm going to actually cover the things that they're doing, and you can swipe these and use them in your own business. So I'm actually going to cover some really awesome things here so you can actually swipe those strategies and things and use them in your own business. We're going to talk some of our existing clients. We're going to cover some of the things we help them implement to really explode their business, as well as cover some really new and exciting strategies that are being used that many of you probably are unaware of. They're fascinating to say the least, and they're going to really help you grow your business. So thanks again for listening.